Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you here for the Dragon's Eggs. Sounds cool, doesn't it? Dragon's Eggs. Anyways, Rick is going to have a little conversation with me here, just a short podcast episode to dig into a pain point that so many of us feel. You're walking through the shop, you're walking through the job site, your guy comes up and says, "Hey, it's time for my raise." Well, how do you deal with that? Especially when these raises are kind of killing you, when you're not prepared for them, you don't have a system, and now you're back on your back foot. And if you don't meet the expectations, you're worried you're going to lose your crew member, your guy, your gal, whoever it is working for you. So Rick and I are going to jump into that for you. Stay tuned, learn all about it here, and we'll see you on the other side. Rick Ptak, how are you?
Dom, glad to be here. I'm doing great.
I'm so glad to have you here. You're building a nest for us, a nest of dragon's eggs.
Yeah.
We're going to do another one today that's kind of spicy. Is that maybe the hottest of all dragon's eggs?
Well, it has to do with dealing with people. So it sometimes some folks aren't so great with dealing with people. So it might be a spicy one.
I make a joke every once in a while that until we can run this whole shooting match on robots, we got to deal with people.
Yeah.
Right. But the spicy dragon's egg, if I could use that analogy, is my guy is asking me for a raise. What do I do? But before we come to that, can you give us 2 seconds on what the heck is a dragon's egg and who the heck is Rick Ptak?
So a dragon's egg is simply something that you need to be proactive about. So think back into medieval times. You're a knight in shining armor, and you have to protect the kingdom against these huge fire-breathing dragons, which is probably quite a difficult task. And if you could only find where the dragon laid the eggs for the next generation of dragons, and you could deal with those eggs, they would never hatch and never become dragons that you would have to fight off. So it's all about being proactive, finding the dragon's eggs versus being reactive and fighting the huge dragon.
Perfect. Thank you. And that's what we're trying to do for business, is find those problems before they appear and go make an omelet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to answer your second question, who am I?
Yeah.
I am the resident team member that helps train the foreman and leadership and supervisor training that we offer, at least once or twice a year. And I'm also the lean and continuous improvement guru. I've got some lean training and lean background in my foreman and, woodworking experience, right? And I'm also the community social media manager for the Facebook pages, the group, the contractor strategy group. Do a lot of posting there, and we try to relay a lot of great information out to folks.
Wonderful. You are a busy man, Rick Ptak. This is not even half of the accolades that you carry around. You've got a lot of different anyways, listen, let me change onto the subject that people are here for.
Yeah.
Rick, my guy is asking me for a raise, or my guys are always asking me for a raise. What the heck, and how do I deal with it?
Right. So obviously it's something you have to deal with now, right? If you're a supervisor or foreman and you guys come to you and ask you for a raise. So, I mean, it's great. It would be great to have some systems in place where, perhaps you'd have a form, a self-evaluation that they'd have to fill in first. And then, you'd get that from them, and then you could sit down and review it with them. And then from there, decide, is there a raise that should be forthcoming based on their performance over the past year? So that's one way to go. And if you don't have that form, then obviously you're going to have to deal with it in a different way. The other way you could go is to put something in place that says, look, we give raises or we do performance reviews once a year. And if raises are warranted, then we would handle it at that time during the performance review.
Right. And so you just set
two ways to go there, right?
Yeah. And there's probably some other ways that other people use, but at least have this as a starting conversation, because and I'm sure you see this as well, the owner is walking through the shop or walking through the job site or gets up on the ladder on the roof, and some guy comes over and says, "Hey, I think it's time I get a raise," in the middle of a job.
Yeah.
In the middle of a job, or while we're walking through the job site, or in the lunchroom, or at the truck, and it's not the right time. And it's
Well,
not
that's
set
your
up the right
dragon,
way.
right? The fire-breathing dragon just came to you, right? So
So what do you got to do?
you didn't deal with the dragon egg, which meant you had a system in place, or there's a step protocol that the way you handle this thing, and that's the way we can always handle it, right?
Yeah. I guess the first thing then, folks, is everybody listening, what is your system right now? And if you don't have a system, Rick just outlined 2 really good systems. Number one, you said create a self-assessment that you can hand your guy and say, go and fill in this self-assessment, hand it back to me, and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
And your second system was every February 19th or every February or something like that.
Well, sometime, yeah, February we start performance reviews, and we'll review everybody at that time. And if raises are warranted, then we'll give them out. And so you're going to have a sit down interview with everybody, each of your workers, and you're just going to look at past performance, and you're going to look at, what additional responsibilities they took on. Are they problem solvers, or are they problem creators? Are they whiners, or are they winners, basically, right? So you're going to try to figure that out, and help them and guide them. And if they need some extra help, that you can talk about that during the review, right?
Yeah. That's why I like that self-evaluation form, because I get somebody to fill it out. They bring it to me, and then we can talk about the gap. They think they're a 7 out of 10. I think they're a 5 out of 10, just as an example. Well, we could talk about that gap and say, look, I need you to really come to us with solutions, not come just saying, here's the problem, here's the problem. And then, you can have the discussion. Now, for those of you listening, going, I can't afford to give a raise. There's another dragon's egg you got, which is you don't know your numbers, because you should be able to work that in. It's not you giving a raise. The customer is going to be giving a raise to your company. Thoughts on that, Rick?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to know where your numbers are at. If you're just struggling and changing 4 quarters into $1, and your profit margins are suffering, then you obviously you can't give raises to your folks. You can't give proper training. You can't even replace aging equipment. So I mean, how are you going to get better as a company? Your competition is going to overtake you slowly over time. So you need to put systems in place, and if you need to find out what your numbers are, there are ways that Dom, you and your team can help them, right? So
yeah, we're all about profitability, and the owner needs to get paid too. If you can't afford to give your guys raises, then I'm worried that you're not able to take a profit for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So all of this conversation comes up in the foreman training, Rick, and the next foreman training's coming up pretty soon here.
Yeah, we're running it in toward the end of February, but before that we always have an info session, and that info session is coming up February 7th. So we always try to engage folks, owners and their leadership team to kind of come on board and have it's a free session, where you learn about what we're going to be taking you through the 6-week training on that foreman course, and it gives tools to the leaders and supervisors and foremen on how to deal with folks, and a lot of other good nuggets of information there, and actual practical tools that you can go out and use as a foreman and as a leader to get better.
How to lead people. Yeah, I mean, and I think you and I both come from that same background, where my first leadership position was, hey, you want to raise? You're going to be the crew leader or the team leader. And that was it. Yep. There was no training. You just learned by thumps to the head.
Yeah. Fly by the seat of your pants and the school of hard knocks. And if you either spits you out, or you learn quickly and learn quickly and get, better at it.
I got spit out. I remember that. I won't even go into the situation. That was the first thing I did, but it did not go over well. And it was, I was embarrassed. Anyways, the point here is that if you've got a foreman or a leader in your team, whatever construction business you're in, there is training available. And Rick Ptak, you're the expert at that. That's why I've asked you to lead that training. So that's coming up. So if you want to be on the information call, because this all starts with an info call, there's no commitment. Just come to the information call with your foreman, with your supervisor, with your crew lead, with your head installer, and just listen to the agenda with Rick. And then leave that call and discuss it with your foreman, leader, supervisor, crew lead. And if everybody's on board inside your company, then you can tell us you want to join. I think it's the best. We've done it this way for years. It's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to share we're providing value, and you have to see the value in it. So it makes a lot of sense. So it's basically a Q&A session, and you learn about the course, and you can, you got some questions, we'll answer them, and then you go away and make a decision.
Yeah, we already had one information call.
We did, yeah.
So the course is filling already nicely, but this is the second.
Yeah, we've got a few folks who have committed to the training, so that's good.
Yeah, folks, if you're interested in coming to the information call, you have to fill out an application first for obvious reasons. And the way to get that application link is send me a text message. My cell phone number is 604-837-8361. And just send me the keyword foreman. And then Rick and I will send you back the application. You need to get that back to us right away so that we can give you the call-in details and the time. Obviously, you need to talk to your crew as well and let us know that you're interested. Let's do that. Now, let me add, can I add one thing, Rick?
Sure.
If you are faced with a situation where people are asking you for a raise, but you feel like you can't afford it, yet you still want to give it to them, you have a cash problem. You've probably figured that out already. If you want to know how to fix that problem, you have to have the info first. I've got a super simple worksheet. Let me just tack that on here as an offer to everybody. Send me a message, same number, 604-837-8361, and just use the keyword go back. And what that is, it's a 1 hour calculator, how much it costs to run your company for just 1 hour. Once you figure out that number, you'll understand if you're priced too low, if you're priced correctly, if wages and salaries and burden rate and all the soft costs are in there, so you know what you have to change in the business to be able to give your people raises. I'll just add that as an offer.
Perfect.
Mr. Rick Ptak, thank you for the Dragon's Egg for today.
You're quite welcome.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well. There you go. There's the inside scoop on when your team is asking you for a raise. You know, this conversation came up because Rick and I were talking about a past client, somebody that actually had been working with me for years, one-on-one in coaching, also invested in doing the SWIFT assessment for themselves, also invested in having one of their leaders, their foreman, come to the foreman training. And now, of course, they've got the upside of this. Well, I met them for lunch the other day, and they were talking about exactly the same thing. Somebody walked up to the owner as he was walking through the shop and said, "Hey, are you feeling generous today?" Catches the owner off guard, except that this time he had it locked and loaded. And he said the system they chose to adopt was, have you filled in your self-assessment? And you have to learn how to build that, but it's not hard to do. We can show you. Have you filled in your self-assessment? To which the guy said, no. Well, once you fill in the self-assessment, the foreman will review it with you. And then he'll review it with me. And then we'll have a meeting with you and talk about whether a raise is warranted at this time. And you can only do a raise once a year, by the way, right? So that is now a system in that company. And it's a company running on simple systems. That's all it is. In their particular case, the process they used is the guy's got to fill in their own self-assessment and have that discussion with the foreman. Okay, so there's lots of different ways to do that. Rick, by the way, talks about those in the training. So if you're interested in joining us for the training, the Foreman 101 training, we could call it supervisor, crew lead, chief installer, chief technician, whatever it is, whatever you call your people in your crew. But join us for that leadership training, because leadership training is 100% missing in this industry. And if you invest that kind of training in your people, you get the returns back, smoother crew, less go backs, etc. Anyways, if you want to join us for the training, send me the keyword foreman. And all you do is text it to me. Text me that keyword at 604-837-8361. Just say foreman. And then I'll know to send you the application. And then that gets you onto the information call. So the cell phone number is 604-837-8361. Just send the keyword foreman. We'll take care of all the details. And then we hope to see you on the call. Thanks for checking in, folks. We'll see you in the next Dragon's Egg, or the next podcast episode, or the next time we get a chance to talk. Have a good one.